Hi everyone, it's Bobby of Knitter's Niche. I'm going to teach you how to do a tubular cast on today. It is a recommended cast on for the Weekender crew by Andrea Mowry. This pattern was just released this week. So let's talk about what we need first. We're going to need straight needles to cast on, and the reason you use straight needles over a cable needle is because the stitches are going to twist, and you're going to see why here in a minute. And it makes it very hard on the cable. It will really twist around. It makes it hard to count your stitches. And we're going to be working with over 100 stitches on this pattern for the size I'm doing. So I chose to use straight needles. They are US 4 needles that are recommended, which would be 3.5 millimeter. It does recommend the DK weight yarn. I have some Barocco vintage DK here, but what I'm going to be using is a worsted weight to show you how to do this so the yarn shows up a little bit better. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a slip knot, make a slip knot to get it on the needle. And that is going to be considered your first stitch, and it's also going to be considered the knit stitch. Now you're going to hold your yarn just like you would a long tail cast on. The first stitch I'm going to be doing is going to be a purl. In order to do a purl in a tubular cast on, I'm going to call this my pointer finger yarn and the other one my thumb yarn. You're going to go under your pointer finger yarn, then you're going to come over your thumb yarn, and then you're going to just twist around. Okay, and that has formed a purl. If you can see the little purl bar on this second one here. So now I'm going to do a knit stitch, tubular cast on. So you're going to go under the thumb yarn, over the pointer finger yarn, and there you have got a knit stitch cast on. So let's do it again. Let's do the purl under the pointer finger and over the thumb yarn and just twist around like that. So now we're ready for a knit stitch, which is under the thumb, over the pointer finger yarn, and twist around. So now we're doing purl, back, there we go. We're going to twist, going to be doing knit under the thumb, over the pointer finger, and twist around. And that's just kind of the mantra that I use in my mind to remember where I'm at here. And you can actually tell that this is a purl stitch and this is a knit stitch if you look closely. Hope you can see that there. All right, back to a purl. Under the pointer finger yarn, over the purl yarn, and we're going to just twist that around like that. So I need to get an odd number of stitches on here, and then I'm going to show you how to do the 2 setup rows. This is just casting it on the needle. Then we have 2 setup rows we do before we continue with the tubular cast on, knit 1, purl 1, ribbing. Okay, that's a purl. This is a knit, twist around, a purl again, under the pointer finger, over the thumb, twist around. So that's the purl. You can see the little bar right there. So now we're going to go under the thumb yarn, over the pointer finger, and that is a knit stitch. Let's see what I have here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. I'm going to do, excuse me, just a few more. Purl is under the pointer finger, over the thumb yarn, knit under the thumb yarn, over the pointer finger, and you just kind of twist that around just like that. Ever so gentle, not too tight. But you don't want it too loose either. If you do it too loose, it's going to make these stitches inconsistent, and I'll show you, I might have an example of that. I'll show you some examples here in a second. Okay, so that's a knit stitch. So now I need a purl. Under the pointer finger, over the thumb, knit under the thumb, over the pointer finger. Let's see how many I have here. Counting my stitches, and you can see how they twisted around. So I need to get those back down in line. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Let's work with that. So I have my tail yarn here, and you can see how loose and unstable that is. I'm going to just twist that around one more time, kind of hang on to it, turn my work. All right, the first thing I need to do is make sure I'm using the working yarn, okay, and not using the tail yarn. So I've got my tail yarn back here for now. And I'm a continental knitter, so I'm going to switch and hold my working yarn here. Okay. So there we go. We got my working yarn. We have our tail yarn here and out of the way, making sure I'm not knitting with that, because earlier I did this a couple times, and guess what I did? I grabbed the tail yarn. Okay. So this first one, I'm going to slip. I just need to bring this to the front. It's kind of fiddly a little bit, this first row. This is the first setup row. We're going to slip the first stitch with yarn in front. And you know what? Hang on here. Let's back up. That's a purl. See, I undid my knit stitch. So let's just do it real quick here. There's my purl, you can see. All right, because you've got that coming around. Nope, let me back up. Let's redo that purl. There's the knit. You can see it's kind of open right there. So purl, under pointer. Okay, so now we're going to do the knit. Under thumb, over pointer. And you know, since I'm doing this with the phone right here, it's a little bit awkward. It's not this difficult to do. So it's just hard to do when I'm filming. Okay. So here we go. And I'm going to use my working yarn. I've got it in the front because I need to slip that first stitch. And it is going to be a little unstable. All right. And I'm going to hold, I held my yarn in front because I'm slipping it. And you want to slip purl-wise. I hope I'm not getting too close to the camera. Okay. You can see this is a twisted knit. That's the cast on we did, and it's making it a twisted knit. You can see here. You're going to knit through the back loop, and you're going to, what it's going to do is just twist that back around the correct way. You're going to slip this one. Then you're going to knit through the back loop. And not only that, these needles are long. So I might hit something. I hope I don't hit the camera. Okay, so now I'm going to slip that purl stitch with yarn in front. Put it in back. Knit through the back loop. You can hear my needles clicking. Slip the purl stitch. Sorry, I can't see, the camera's in the way. There we go. Knit through the back loop. And purl. Excuse me, slip with yarn in front. Knit through the back loop. Slip with yarn in front. Knit through the back loop. Slip with yarn in front. Knit through the back loop. And this last one, you're going to slip with yarn in front. Okay. So now we're going to line these up as best we can. They're going to look really bumpy, but I'm going to show you what this turns into, how nice and smooth. And it looks like that the knit stitches and everything are just running clear and folding under and coming up on the other side. Much neater edging using this, this cast on. Okay. Get around here. This row, first setup row is, we are going to knit, second setup row, I'm sorry, knit this stitch. The second one is a purl, if you can see that there. So I'm going to slip yarn in front, knit, slip with 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 yarn in front on those purl stitches, and then knit, slip with yarn in front, knit, slip with yarn in front, and knit the last stitch. Okay, those are the two setup rows. From here on out, what we're going to do, knit the knits and purls the purls. Now, but what you're going to do at the very first stitch from now on, when you turn your work, you're always going to slip that stitch. And you can see that this is a purl stitch here. See the little collar on that little line going across the yarn? So I need to slip it with yarn in front. So again, I'm a continental knitter, so I'm going to put that in my left hand. You are going to slip this stitch. And now all the yarn's twisted and everything, so you just automatically knit. Now, we're just knitting and purling. We're not slipping the rest of these anymore. We've already done that on the setup rows. So, oops, let me get a better hold of that here. Purling the purls, knitting the knits, purling the purls, knitting the knits. And basically, that's how it's done. And again, when we return the work here in a second, just remembering to always slip the first stitch purlwise, and if the first stitch is a knit stitch, your yarn will be held in the back. If the first stitch is a purl stitch, your yarn will be held in the front when you slip it. Okay, I'm going to turn the work. We're moving along nicely here. So this is a knit stitch. See, because this one's a purl, this one's a knit stitch. So I want my yarn in the back as I slip it purlwise, always slipping it purlwise. And what that does, this is a purl, what that does, it just gives it, I don't have a very good hold of that. It gives it a nice edge when you use those slip stitches at the beginning. Okay, so we're gonna knit and we're gonna purl. Knit the knit and purl the purl. Knit the knit and purl the purl. Okay. Whoops. I'm just having a hard time seeing here. There we go. I hope this looks all right. I hope you kind of get the idea of how this is done. Knitting that last stitch. Remember, it's only the first stitch at this point that you are going to be slipping because you've already done those 2 setup rows. So you don't need to slip every other one. So, all right, so this, I can see this is a purl stitch here. And this is a knit. So I'm gonna have to slip with yarn in front, purlwise. Okay. I'm gonna tighten that up. Knit, and that's it. And then you're gonna do however long she says to do the ribbing. We're purling. Okay, so let's get done with this row real quick here, and then I'm going to show you some examples. And I'm pretty sure which yarn I'm going to use. I have done this several times because I have never done the tubular cast on. So it was all new to me just yesterday. So I watched her video. We're going to purl that last stitch. Okay. So what we have here, you can see the edging on here. And it looks like those knit stitches are just coming all the way around. You don't have that solid line like you do when you're doing the long tail cast on. And really, this was much easier than I thought it was going to be. So let me show you some examples here. This is holding 2 fingering weight yarns together, and it is using the US 4 3.5 millimeter needle to cast on. I do have it on a larger needle because the next step you use a size 6 in the body of the sweater. So here is an example of the tubular cast on, how nice and neat that looks. You know, I was practicing this and learning it basically. And I thought, oh, I'm just gonna do a long tail cast on. After you do this and see how nice it looks, the long tail cast on just has that hard line there. So here's another example. Oh, here's the back. So this will be the hem. And then this will be reverse stockinette is what the sweater is knit in reverse stockinette. So here's that example. Again, this is 2 fingering weight yarns held together, which equals the DK weight. Now here is Lion Brand's, what do they call it? Their LB collection. It is their jeans. It's the one that the Autumn League pullover is knit with. I had chosen to do this, and I made the exact same amount of stitches, 21 stitches on each one of these. And you're going to see the difference between, it's amazing the different gauge that you get with things, with different yarns. This is considered DK weight. This is considered DK weight. And look at the difference here. You can see. Look at the difference. Now, I really love the feel of both of these. This is 100% merino wool, and this is 100% cotton. I do like it. I love the Autumn League pullover, how it feels, and loved working with it. That's one of my very favorite sweaters that I've ever knit. Now this here is the Lion Brand Retweed. It is a recycled yarn, which has wool, and it has, I'll have to put the information down below in the description. Now this is worsted weight. Okay, here's the back side, reverse stockinette on here. Now the ribbing is done different lengths. It's just the body of it, the width of it here that I wanted you to see. So to do this pattern, I cannot even get gauge with a worsted weight because it will be way too big even if I do the smallest sweater. But look at the difference there. Big, big difference. So understand that your yarn, you've got to pick the right yarn and you've got to do some swatches. But what the nice part is I got to do some swatches and I learned how to do the tubular cast on. Okay, the tubular cast on, and again, is used in the Weekender by Andrea Mowry. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.